I'm back, motherfucker! I'm back!
We have a truly incredible explainer lined up for you today. Millions of people know David Goggins as this absolute icon of endurance, right? A guy who just obliterates brutal physical barriers. But, he wasn't born a superhero. Not at all. He was actually once a struggling kid, pretty much trapped in a nightmare. So let's explore exactly how he transformed his reality. Okay, let's dive into this. Before we even get into his origins, we really need to understand the core philosophy that drives literally everything he does. Goggins learned that his greatest opponent was always the voice inside his own mind, telling him to stop. The real battle? It's never against the elements or the distance or the other competitors. It is entirely about conquering that internal voice.
And that brings us to Act 1, the anchor of the past. So Goggins' early life definitely wasn't a foundation of strength. Actually, it was a profound baseline of suffering. He was born in 1975 in Buffalo, and his childhood was just robbed of peace by extreme hardship. And his school years were honestly just as brutal, filled with crushing self-doubt, prejudice, and intense bullying. By the time he reached early adulthood, the sheer weight of all these traumas left him working dead-end jobs, feeling totally stuck, and putting on a massive amount of weight.
He was caught in this devastating trap. Internally, he had just accepted fear, insecurity, and self-doubt as permanent fixtures of who he was. And externally, well, his physical reality completely reflected that defeat. He had gained so much weight and was just so deeply dissatisfied with himself that he literally avoided looking in mirrors. It was just way too painful a reminder of what he had become. But right here is where the whole story shifts. Act 2. The mirror of honesty. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that his massive physical transformation didn't actually start with some crazy workout or a trendy diet. Nope, it started with what he calls the accountability mirror. Complete, brutal honesty. Zero excuses. Instead of pointing fingers at his difficult childhood or his current circumstances, he made this conscious, radical decision to take full responsibility for his own future. And he approached this super methodically. First, obviously, came that brutal honesty. Second, he set a goal that frankly looked genuinely impossible, qualifying for one of the absolute toughest military careers in the United States, which meant he needed massive, rapid weight loss. So how do you do it? Well, the third step was just thousands of small, exhausting decisions made consistently, getting up every single difficult morning, day after day, proving that real, lasting change, it's a grind. It's not magic. That relentless consistency leads us perfectly into Act 3, the crucible of pain. To survive what came next, he had to completely rewire his relationship with suffering. Think about it. Most of us naturally run from pain, right? But Goggins realized that in order to grow, he had to view pain not as an enemy, but as a teacher. Every single grueling workout and moment of suffering was actively strengthening his mind just as much as his muscles. He voluntarily pushed himself through the toughest U.S. military training programs literally designed to break highly capable people. He entered ultramarathons, running hundreds of miles. Just picture the dramatic shots of these punishing environments: blistering desert heat, freezing cold ocean water, treacherous mountain peaks. And he navigated all of this while pushing through severe physical injuries like stress fractures. He wasn't out there just trying to win medals. He was using these brutal landscapes as a forge for his character. And this brilliantly illustrates a critical truth he learned out there in the elements. Your physical body will reach what feels like its absolute limit: extreme fatigue, total breakdown. But guess what? That's largely an illusion. Goggins discovered that when your mind tells you you're completely done, you are usually only at about 40% of your actual capacity. The mind gives up way before the body does. So by mastering the mind, he unlocked physical capabilities that most people think are straight up impossible. Which brings us to our final phase, Act 4, the daily decision. Here's where we shift to the lessons you and I can actually apply. We've got to rethink how we view comfort. Because comfort, it is the exact point where personal growth just stops. Goggins deliberately hunted for discomfort, sleepless nights, exhausting runs, impossible challenges, because dodging comfort is the only guaranteed way to strengthen your character. And listen, even after all the fame, the books, the world records, success was never some final destination or a shiny trophy on a shelf for him. Success was the daily decision to keep improving, even, and maybe especially, when nobody else was watching. It's an ongoing, relentless effort of persistence.
So, the crucial point is this. Our limitations are mostly created by our own fears, not by reality. Your past hardships, no matter how incredibly severe they might have been, do not have to dictate the rest of your life. You have the power to change direction through consistent action. Ultimately, ordinary people absolutely can achieve extraordinary things if they just apply discipline.
It all comes down to a simple, universal truth. You cannot control where your story begins.
You cannot erase the mistakes of the past.
And you absolutely cannot avoid every obstacle that life inevitably throws in front of you. Let's move to and see how this builds. You can choose your response. This is the empowering pivot of his entire life's message. True strength isn't about never suffering. It's about refusing to let that suffering define who you are. It is choosing to keep learning, keep growing, and keep moving forward, no matter what.
You cannot control where your story begins. But what response will you choose today? Look, the mountain in front of you might seem totally impossible right now, but every great climb begins with a single step, and an extraordinary life begins the moment you decide to never, ever stop climbing. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, Focus Learners. Get out there and take that first step today.